Hey guys, Sri Lanka Sammy, I'm back. Welcome, welcome to today's story. I am going to talk to you about working and this new cancel culture, this new, not cancel culture, sorry, quiet quitting. That's the word I wanted to look for. All these buzzwords. I haven't had my coffee yet this morning. It is 6 a.m. It rained earlier this morning, and the sky is blue. Dogs are waking up. Streets are just beautiful this morning. It is 6 a.m. on September 29th, and starting the last couple of weeks have been really, really hot and dry, and for the next 2 weeks it looks like unsettled weather. So I decided to get out early today, wake up early and get out and do my morning 10-kilometer walk. So today I'm going to talk to you about why your boss is not your friend, why your company is not the best thing in the world. So be right back. All right. Let's talk about the work-life balance and the experiences I had in North America and Korea. I mean, I did work in Korea for 13 years, but this is more about the culture of the workplace in North America prior to when I left, and the realities that I learned being in management and as an employee. First off, your boss is not your friend. When your boss tells you, oh, and you're sick, and you call in sick, you've had a death in the family, or your long-term absence from work. When they say, hope you feel better, hope you're anything I can do, take a look at that sunrise. If that isn't paradise, I don't know what is. So, when your boss tells you, hope you feel better, is there anything I can do? That's what you're supposed to say. Personally, I think what it is basically, what can I do to make you stop crying faster? What can I do to get you back to work? Because I need you to start making me the money. And what people forget, and I think the number one thing that new employees need to forget or don't know, is that your company only hires you if you are profitable. If you are not profitable, you're the first person they're going to let go. So this new quiet quitting is actually impressive. Or working your wage. I find that should have been done decades ago. I wish I did it. I was a very big go-getter. I would go out and work my butt off in my early work, especially in the entertainment industry. When I was working at bars and nightclubs, I would go the extra mile, especially because I was working at startups. So I would do whatever it took to try to get ahead. And showing ambition was one of the things I like to do. And then when I was a salesman, being a salesman in its own way, when you work hard, you make more money. So it was easy to it's different than a regular job where you're an office worker or something like that, because the work never ends. There's always work to do. As a salesman, or salesperson, sorry, as a salesperson, the work stops when the clock stops, because there's no, you can't call someone at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah, you can do paperwork, but there's only so much paperwork that's required. After a while, the paperwork can wait. It's not urgent. So the point I'm trying to make is, think about what it is, and I say this all the time. Why is someone asking you to do this? Why is someone telling you this? There's an ulterior motive. It's always about money and power. If you don't know that yet, that's how our world operates, then probably not need to watch this video. But I'm not saying anything that most people don't already know. This is for the young people. This is for those 20-year-olds getting out of university right now who don't fully appreciate the reality of the business world. I grew up in a different generation. Those of you who don't know, I'm 53 years old. I grew up in a world where you worked hard, you were rewarded. Loyalty, dedication, hard work, putting in the extra hours. You got rewarded for that. And I was, when I was younger, again, because I lived in a different world, different generation. But I realized towards the end of my career, in the late 2005, that companies were not interested in people. They were interested in numbers. And if the bottom line meant that 2,000 people needed to be laid off, then not a problem. There's no guilty conscience there. So for example, you tell me if this is morally ethical or good business. Is it morally ethical, or is it just good business? So at my company, at Bell Canada, when I worked there in, I'm gonna say the early 80s, mid 80s, I was a telemarketer. And I was a damn good one too. I was one of the top telemarketers there. And it was a great job because there's no overtime. The job is computerized, so you can only work when the computer is on. By the company. You can't work extra. So if you want to make extra phone calls, you can't do it after hours. The system shuts off. It's regulated, controlled, etc., etc. It was a part-time job. Now, it was a part-time job legally, but you worked full-time hours. When I got promoted and I moved to the business side of the company, it was full-time, but they listed you as temporary part-time. Temporary part-time. Why did they do that? So they didn't have to pay you benefits, and wow, they could lay you off at any time. It was explained to me that It's the needs of the business. That's what they call it, the needs of the business. So for example, if there's not a campaign or if things slow down, they can give you less hours because you're only part-time. You're not guaranteed a 36, 40-hour work week. But that never happened, so nobody cared. The employees were happy to have a job that paid so much because you were paid a salary. Was it hourly or salary? I can't remember if it was hourly or salary. It was so long ago. But it was really good pay for the work that we did. And then the bonuses were incredible. So nobody cared about our designation because, wow. Jesus. Those horns, man, really annoying. Thought they were illegal, but I guess not. Nobody cared about the designation because we made such good money, and never in the year or so that, years that people had worked there, had they ever reduced the hours. But what the company did, on occasion, once every 3 or 4 years, if there was an economic downturn, because Canada has a lot of laws protecting full-time workers. So I actually became full-time. Sorry, I became full-time. Permanent, full-time, not temporary part-time. And the reason the designation is important is because the bank will not see your job as creditworthy. And when you're a young person, you want that good job so that you can get credit, because you want to build a life, credit card, loan, mortgage, those kinds of things. You need that good credit score. You need that good job. So being temporary part-time is not acceptable. But I became full-time. So when I became full-time, the company did something because of the needs of the business. And I'll be right back to tell you all about it. So what the company did was, the company had us listed as some of us temporary part-time, some of us full-time. And then what they did was they deemed our jobs no longer required. It's a beautiful church. St. Mary's Church. Very nice church. So they deemed the jobs no longer required and basically fired everyone. Or laid us off, I can't remember. Laid us off. They can't fire you. They laid everyone off. Now, some of the people will get unemployment benefits, while the rest, well, not the rest, so everyone, let's say there's, good morning, while everyone is, let's say there's 100 people, they say, oh, this job is no longer required or needed, we're shutting it down. Oh, by the way, those of you who are interested, we have 60 new jobs that are available if you'd like to apply. The job is identical to the job we just got laid off from, except the title. And they make it sound a little bit different here and there. But it's the same job. Basically what they wanted to do was reduce the numbers, so they go through this whole process of where you have to reapply for your job. They already know who they want to keep. So it was a moot process. You work all this stress and all this hard stuff to try to get your old job back. And the stress of doing that was ridiculous. Even though they knew exactly who they wanted. Because I did it. One time I tanked the interview. They're like, I just like, you know, I made it very simplified, I didn't put a lot of effort into the interview because I was #1 salesperson. I knew either they wanted me for my personality or they wanted me for my numbers. I basically cakewalked the interview or re-interview, and I got hired. The rest of the people who weren't hired were laid off and they got unemployment. Now, you think, is that fair? Is that right? Well, that was legal. And here's the kicker. We had a union. Because Bell Canada was it used to be a federal company. It used to be a government-run company, so it had a union. All employees were unionized, regardless of position. And when it became a private company, the union remained. Now, they didn't call themselves a union, they called themselves an association. And I still had to pay 1% of my salary to the union. But the union did absolutely nothing. It was structured in such a way that it made it look like it was a union and that it was following the government mandates, but it did nothing. And it was structured in such a way that it was contemptuous. So for example, there are, whether you're full-time or part-time, you're part of the union. You have no choice. So basically what happened was, let's say there are 100 part-time telemarketers. This is my first time walking down this road. So there are 100 telemarketers. And there are 20 full-time telemarketers, right? So what they will do is, they're all telemarketers, but they're under the same voting block. So what they'll do is, they'll give me as a full-timer a 1% raise or 2% raise, which I don't want. I want to vote no. But they'll give the part-timers a $100 signing bonus. As a part-timer, you're like, yeah, I'll take that bonus. And they say yes to the union contract because they're part-timers. There's no investment by them. You know, they're working a few hours at night. It's just a part-time job to them. To get $100 for them, that's great. And they sign yes. So the union contract passes 80%. You tell me whether that is morally correct or needs of the business. So anyway, that's my story as to why you should never, ever, ever give yourself to your business. I have found that being my own boss, being a freelancer, gives me the freedom. There's no security. There's no security. There is freedom. And that's the important thing. Are you free? And if you believe that being secure in your finances, being a slave to the white collar is important to you, then go right ahead and do it. But I don't. I felt that the freedom of working when I wanted and being my own boss and the bearer of my own destiny was most important to me. So that's my story. Sri Lanka Sammi, living life. Don't let life live you. I'm out.